In 1960, a farmer in China's Gansu province unearthed a skull while digging for fossils. It was a hot summer day, and he just wanted to get home before the sun set. So he threw the skull into his cart with some other fossils and headed home. He didn't realize it at the time, but that skull would change our understanding of human evolution forever. It took 3 years for that fossil to make its way to a lab and be identified as Homo sapiens. And then another 3 decades for it to be properly dated and linked to other fossils from the same period. Because of that, scientists once thought that Homo sapiens evolved in Africa and then migrated into Europe and Asia. But this fossil, now called Yunxian 2, is rewriting that history. Yunxian 2 is the oldest Homo sapiens skull ever discovered outside of Africa. And it turns out the story of human migration is a lot more complicated than we thought. Yunxian 2 is special for a few reasons. First, it's the only skull from this period that has both a prominent forehead and a chin, 2 features we associate with Homo sapiens. Other skulls from around the same time have either a receding forehead or no chin at all. Second, the back of the skull has a ridge where the muscles for chewing attach, kind of like a gorilla. But as you move forward on the skull, those ridges get smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing under the forehead. This is a feature we only see in Homo sapiens. And no other species of human has both a gorilla-like ridge and a thin, delicate forehead. So Yunxian 2 is definitely Homo sapiens. And by studying its DNA, we found that it's actually more closely related to us than some humans alive today. But to figure out when exactly it lived, researchers needed to do some detective work. Yunxian 2 came from a layer of sediment called the sea layer, and based on the types of animals there, scientists knew it was between 1.8 and 12,000 years old. But they didn't know which part of that 1.8 million year span it was from. To narrow it down, they turned to something called argon dating. Normally, you can accurately date something using argon when it's at least 50,000 years old. But scientists were able to modify the technique to date something as young as 12,000 years old. And they found that Yunxian 2 is about 200,000 years old, which means it predates the oldest Homo sapiens fossils in Europe by at least 100,000 years. And if you think that's a small difference, consider this. If we were to go back 100,000 years from today, we'd end up in the middle of the last ice age. That's how long ago our ancestors left Africa. This discovery suggests that humans didn't migrate into Asia and Europe just once. Instead, there were multiple migrations over a long period of time. And somewhere between 200,000 and 12,000 years ago, a small group of humans made their way into what's now China, where they've been overlooked for hundreds of thousands of years. Thanks to one man's trash, another man's treasure. Speaking of treasure, thank you for being such a loyal audience. We'll see you next time.